Hey there, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that's literally all around us, but we don't always stop and think about it. I'm talking about our differences. We're going to dig into why they matter so much and how they make our world, well, a way more vibrant and interesting place to be.
All right, just take a second. Look around you right now. Think about the people in your class, your family, your neighborhood. Is anyone at all exactly like you? Yeah, I didn't think so. And that simple fact, that no, is where this whole fascinating idea gets started.
Right? Every single one of us is one of a kind. We speak different languages, we celebrate different holidays, we love totally different foods. Heck, we even draw differently. And all these little differences, they're what make life so much richer and, let's be honest, just a whole lot more fun.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, let's dive into a story. It's about two very different people, making a connection. The whole thing starts at this really busy intersection, the Genpat crossing in Delhi, and it's here that a boy on a bike meets another boy who's selling newspapers.
So picture this. Every single day, the narrator cycles past this spot, and every day, this young newspaper boy runs after him, shouting out the headlines in this mix of Hindi and English. But then one day, something different happens. The narrator stops, and he asks for the Hindi paper. The kid's jaw just drops. He's totally shocked. He's like, You mean you know Hindi?
And you know why he was so stunned? Because, in his own words, the narrator looked so Angrez, so English. He just couldn't wrap his head around the idea that someone who looked like that could read Hindi. And this really shows you the huge gap between their lives. On one side, you've got Samir, who actually studied Hindi as a subject in school. And on the other, well, for the newspaper boy, school wasn't even a thing. He'd been working on the streets since he was just a little kid.
But then, something really cool started to happen. Every day, at that traffic light, they'd chat for just a few moments. The newspaper boy was super curious, always asking questions. And these little daily talks, they started to build a real connection, kind of like a bridge between their two totally different worlds.
And then you get this absolutely incredible moment. The newspaper boy, a little shyly, says, "My name is Samir." The narrator is so surprised his bike actually wobbles. He just grins and says, "No way, my name is Samir too." Just think about that. In this huge city with millions of people, these two boys from such different lives find out they have the exact same name. And that shared name, it was like instant glue. It created this amazing bond. The first Samir, our narrator, explains that his name is another name for Hanuman's father. And you can just see the light bulb go on over the newspaper boy's head. He gets this huge grin and says triumphantly, "So now you are Samir Ek, and I'm Samir Do, Samir 1 and Samir 2. And just like that, with a handshake, a hot milao Samir Do, their friendship was sealed. But then, the very next day, the whole mood changes. Something was wrong. That bright, familiar smile was just gone from Samir Do's face. He looked really troubled. All he said was, "There is trouble in merit." And the tragic irony is that the headlines on the very newspapers he was selling were all about communal riots.
Samir Ek, the narrator, he didn't get it at first. But then Samir Do explained. He said, "I'm a Muslim Samir, and all my people are in Meerut." You can just imagine his eyes filling with tears as he said it. And in that one moment, another big difference between them snapped into focus. Samir Ek was Hindu, Samir Do was Muslim.
And that was it. That was the last time he ever saw him. Samir Do wasn't at the crossing the next day, or the day after that, or ever again. He just vanished. And no newspaper, not in English, not in Hindi, could tell Samir Ek where his friend had gone.
It's such a powerful story, right? And it teaches us something so important. Not all differences are created equal. And this is where we really need to get into the nitty-gritty of diversity versus inequality. So let's break that down.
All right, first up, diversity. So what is it? Well, it's all about the amazing variety in our backgrounds. Think about the Samirs. One was Hindu, one was Muslim. That is a perfect example of religious diversity. It's a difference, for sure, but it's the kind of difference that makes our world so much more interesting and vibrant.
Okay, but then you have inequality. And this is a whole different ballgame. This isn't just about being different. It's about one person being put at a disadvantage. Inequality is what happens when someone doesn't have the same access to resources and opportunities as other people. Things like going to school or even having enough food to eat.
And this chart here just lays it all out so clearly.
The boys had different religions, they spoke different languages. Okay, that's diversity. Cool. But what about the fact that one got to go to school while the other had to work on the street just to get by? See, that's not diversity. That is a textbook example of inequality. And this right here, this really hits the nail on the head. Samir not having the chance to go to school, that's not some interesting cultural difference. It's a lack of opportunity. It's about fairness. And that, right there, is the fundamental difference we're talking about.
So, while inequality is something that creates division and problems, diversity, well, that's something we should absolutely celebrate. It adds so much richness to our lives. Let's talk about how.
I mean, just think about it in your own life. When you have friends from different backgrounds, you get to try all this amazing new food, right? You get to celebrate festivals you'd never even heard of. You learn about new traditions, maybe pick up a few words in another language. It just makes life so much more fun and exciting.
And that brings us right back to the heart of the story of the two Samirs. Even with all their differences, and let's not forget the very real inequality that separated them, they still found a way to become friends. Their story just goes to show you that diversity doesn't have to be a wall between us. It can actually be the very thing that starts something really wonderful.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. Who are the people in your life that are different from you? What have you learned from them? What kind of joy or fun or new experiences have they brought into your world? Because in the end, understanding our differences, and more importantly, celebrating them, that's how we build a much richer and a much more connected world for everyone.
Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something really beautiful and complex: diversity. We're going to see how this incredible mix of cultures shapes everything around us, from how we say hello to where we find our greatest strengths. You know, diversity is all around us, often in the simplest things. In Jharkhand, for instance, you might say Johar to greet someone. In Manipur, women wear this beautiful traditional dress called a fanek. And when you think about something everyone does, like cooking rice, well, you get amazing dishes like biryani. Each one is like a little window into a whole different world. So all of this really begs a big question, right? One that's going to guide our whole journey today. What does all this variety, this rich heritage, actually bring to our lives? Let's dive in and find out. So to really get a handle on diversity, you've got to ask, where does it come from? How does it even happen? Well, a lot of the time, it all starts with people on the move. For centuries, people have traveled, looking for new places to trade, searching for work, or sometimes they're forced to move to escape really tough times like famine, drought, or even war. And when people move, they don't leave their culture behind. They bring it with them. And that creates this amazing blend of old and new. Okay, so to really see how this works in a real world, we're going to go on a little journey. We're heading to two totally different parts of India, Ladakh and Kerala, to see firsthand how things like geography and history come together to create this incredible tapestry of diversity. All right, our journey starts way, way up high in the mountains of eastern Jammu and Kashmir in a place called Ladakh. And let me tell you, this place is a land of breathtaking extremes. The geography here, it pretty much dictates everything. Ladakh is a cold desert, super high up. It's buried in snow for a huge part of the year and gets almost no rain. So trying to grow crops? Yeah, that's next to impossible. For water, people depend completely on the snow melting during the short summer months. Life here is truly shaped by the land. So you might be wondering, in a place this tough, how do people make a living? Well, they raise these really special goats. These goats produce this incredibly soft, super valuable wool called pashmina. The people of Ladakh carefully collect this wool and then sell it to traders from Kashmir, who weave it into those famous, luxurious shawls. But here's what's so cool. It wasn't just wool getting traded along these ancient routes. It was ideas, too. Ladakh was actually a major gateway for Buddhism to travel into Tibet, which is how it got its nickname, Little Tibet. And then, Islam arrived over 400 years ago. So now you have this amazing cultural mix where both Muslims and Buddhists share this rich tradition of songs and epic poems, like the Kesar Saga. Okay, buckle up, because now we're going to travel from those cold, dry mountains all the way south to Kerala. We're talking about a lush, green state surrounded by hills on one side and the ocean on the other. It's like stepping into a completely different world. See, Kerala's coastline was basically a giant welcome mat for the rest of the world. Jewish and Arab traders were some of the very first to arrive. And get this, it's believed that St. Thomas, one of Jesus' apostles, brought Christianity here almost 2,000 years ago. Then came famous travelers like Ibn Battuta, and eventually the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama landed, opening up a direct sea route from Europe. For centuries, this place was a bustling global crossroads. And what was the big draw? What made everyone sail across oceans to get here? Spices. Unlike Ladak's precious wool, Kerala's geography was just perfect for growing super valuable spices like pepper, cloves, and cardamom. That, plus its fertile land for growing rice and a coastline teeming with fish, totally shaped its economy and its unique culture. And this is the best part. This amazing history isn't just something you read about in a textbook. You can literally see it in everyday life. The fishing nets they use there look just like Chinese fishing nets, and they're even called chinavala. That word chin is thought to have come straight from China. It's history right there in the tools people use every single day. So let's just pause for a second. We've got Ladakh, a cold, high-altitude desert, and then we've got Kerala, a lush, tropical coast. I mean, on the surface, they couldn't possibly be more different, right? Or are they? Let's connect some dots. And this right here is the key idea. Even though they are worlds apart geographically, there's this amazing shared thread. Both places, one through its winding mountain passes, the other through its busy seaports, were deeply, profoundly shaped by traders from China and the Arab world. It just goes to show you how geography and history are always dancing together. But you know, this link between a place's geography and its history doesn't just create these fascinating, unique local cultures. It actually builds something way bigger, something incredibly powerful. In fact, this very diversity became a massive source of national strength. Think about India's freedom struggle. You had people from every background you can imagine, different cultures, different religions, different parts of the country, all coming together for one common goal: to stand up against British rule. And this powerful sense of unity was captured in songs and poems of the time. This line, for example, is from a song written after the tragic Jallianwala Bagh massacre. It was a way of honoring the shared sacrifice, of saying that in that struggle, in that moment, the blood of Hindus and Muslims flowed together. Their differences didn't matter. And this whole concept was summed up perfectly by India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. He's the one who coined the now famous phrase, unity in diversity. What he meant was that true unity isn't something that's forced on people from the outside. No, it's something deeper, something that comes from within. It's a kind of unity that not only tolerates differences, but actually acknowledges and encourages them. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. After seeing how geography and history can create such rich, beautiful cultures, and how all that variety can actually become a source of strength, maybe take a look at your own life. What does the diversity of people, foods, music, and traditions all around you add to your world? Now that's a question really worth thinking about.